Alright, guys, hello. I just want to make this video very quickly because I keep coming across these types of videos. And the videos I come across are women who regret their abortions, and basically something that's reoccurring in all of these women who regret them is this pattern of like not being aware of how abortions work. And I also think like there's so much. I think Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry is lying to women about abortion. You know, we keep trying to tell women that the child in their womb is not a life. It's just a clump of cells. It's all of these. It's like literally constantly repeating to women that a child in the womb is not a life. It's not valuable. And it's like crazy because it's like the people who believe that are convincing themselves of something that they know is a lie, because when women are pregnant and want the child, we celebrate the life of that child. We don't pretend that it's just a clump of cells and meaningless and holds no value. But then you have the abortion industry telling you, oh, it's just a clump of cells. And I feel like I pointed out in I think the last video, there's so many logical inconsistencies behind like the abortion industry and pro-choice logic in general. But one of the biggest things to me is every person that supports abortion supports it because they devalue the life of the child in the womb of unborn children. They literally believe because a person has not been born yet, they're not a life at all, or they're just a clump of cells, or they're just like whatever thing, a fetus, an embryo, zygote, whatever. They want to negate that there's any value to a person while they're in the womb. And to me, it's hard for me to like, I don't understand how people can objectively believe that, knowing that their life depended on them being in their mother's womb and them being born. I also don't understand the separation of the life you have in the womb from the life you have after you're born, because it's the exact same life. The reality is, your time in your mother's womb is necessary because as human beings, we have to develop every single cell in your body. It's just like that's the whole miracle of life. Like the fact that all of us started off as these like I don't know, do people just need to go back to biology or something? Like you start off as tiny microscopic, actually not microscopic, but a fertilized egg, once fertilized and implanted in the womb, is literally the beginning of your life. You start developing every aspect of your being while you're in the womb. And this process is so unique and miraculous. It's something that I don't understand how people can minimize the beauty and value and the miracle of that process. For every human being on the planet, you had to develop your lungs, your heart, your brain, your eyes. And that process happens in the protection and safety of your mother's womb, because that's how God designed it. It's like we can't develop those things. Like your womb was literally designed to carry the life of the beginning. It's like your womb is literally, that's the purpose of it. The purpose of your womb is to carry and protect and hold and nurture a life until it is strong enough to exist outside of its mother's body. Because you have to develop everything. Like NICU babies have to stay in the NICU until they've developed enough functions of their body, which, by the way, they're still developing that on their own, right? The NICU is just basically trying to recreate the mother's womb outside of the mother's body so that the baby can continue developing all of its vital functions until it's strong enough to survive. Like, you literally need 9 months in your mother's womb to be strong enough, develop all the functions, to breathe and everything else. But it's like all of those, every aspect of that development is crucial, but it's also miraculous. It's a natural process. It's just like, we can't keep, I don't understand why people keep pretending the life of the child in the womb is just insignificant, when it's a very significant aspect of every person's life. Like, I was once in my mother's womb. And it's like, I get that people want to make the argument of consciousness. I really don't care about that argument because it's a subjective concept to begin with. It's not even an objective, measurable matter to really claim that it gives a person's value or not. Because here's the thing, and this is what I would argue over the whole consciousness debate that people try to bring up at time. What, like, you being conscious, like, you not having memory of your time in the womb doesn't mean you weren't conscious. Like, you were aware of your own. It's like, just because we can't remember our time in our mother's womb doesn't mean we weren't conscious of our existence in our mother's womb. And it's like, we know that that's not true because babies can literally react to their mothers in their mother's womb. They kick, they move around on their own free will. It's just like, we have to stop pretending like a child in the womb is an insignificant clump of cells. It's really not. And I feel like that's the lie that gets pushed, so that, women can see their own children as not valuable. It's like, that's your own child. That's your child. Your unborn child in your womb is still your child. And just because you take or end that baby's life before it gets born, it does not change the fact that it was a child in your womb and that it was your child. It's not some random person's child. It's your own child, your flesh, your blood. And I feel like the reality of that is what hits women after they have an abortion, because it's like, it's like, you can try to disconnect a child in the womb from a baby outside the womb, but we all know it's the same. A baby, every baby that gets born developed 9 months in their mother's womb. It's not like it's just this random baby just came out of nowhere. That baby was in its mother's womb for 9 months, being nurtured, being protected, and then it was strong enough. And it's like, there's only two options once a woman is pregnant. Actually, there's not even two options. The only option that is natural is birth. Whether it's a miscarriage, even if the baby passes away while it's still in the mother's womb, the mother still has to give birth to that child. It's called a stillbirth after a time. It's just like, there's literally only an option for that. Once that baby exists in a person's womb, there's only the option for it to be born. In the natural sense of, once you are pregnant, your body is preparing itself for the birth of that child. That is a natural process that happens without your consent. And I feel like the way people love to pretend birth is forced, when birth is just a natural process of pregnancy. Like, if you are pregnant, eventually you're going to have to give birth. And basically, what people are uninformed about with the abortion pill is that the abortion pill is literally forcing the birth of the baby after the first pill kills it. It's like the cramps you experience, you're literally taking the pills that they give to women to induce labor. You're going through labor. You're just laboring a very small, fragile, super early baby. premature baby. That is what you are doing. Like, the abortion pill is not, you can't end a pregnancy. Like, pregnancy is a natural process of your body. By natural causes, if you left nature to run its course, that baby is going to continue developing until birth, unless there is a problem and a miscarriage happens. But most pregnancies don't end in miscarriage. I actually don't know what percentage it is, but it's like, when you leave nature to run its course, that baby is going to end up being born. If there's no problems, if there's no risk, if it's a healthy pregnancy, right? Now, when there are risks, the biggest thing that happens is you have a premature baby. But what the abortion pill does is force a premature birth after ending its life. That's what the abortion pill is doing. And then all the other options for abortion, which would be the one where they rip the baby apart while it's in your room with this disgusting, horrible, it's actually barbaric when you really think about it, but they're ripping apart a baby, pulling it out of your womb limb by limb, and then suctioning it out with a tube. It's actually horrific to really think about. And like, why people are so uneducated about it. And maybe they're educated and just don't care, but after watching, like I said, the videos of women who regret them, it's like, how did y'all not recognize them? By the way, I know women who've had abortions, and they all told me it was the worst experience of their life and they wouldn't wish it on anyone. It's like, people are arguing to have this negative experience that leaves people with lifelong trauma to begin with. And when people regret their abortions and have that lifelong trauma of, I regret this, I wish I had never done this, I should have had my baby. Like, it's the saddest thing for me to see, because it's like, so many women are being deceived and misled and believing this lie that their own children's lives don't matter just because they're still in their womb. Like, what a sick, twisted lie that the abortion industry is feeding to women. And the women who believe it just continue spreading that lie. Like, I'll get on TikTok and see a video, someone is pro-life, and then I'll look at the comments and it's a bunch of people saying it's a clump of cells, it doesn't matter. It's just like, why doesn't it matter? We're all clumps of cells, right? It's just like, using certain language to devalue other people, because it's like, a baby is not just a clump of cells. They're organized cells, they're significant cells, they're cells that are structured, ordered, complex, and there's design and functionality to them. There's so much, I would say, there's so much significant structure and intelligent design in how babies are formed in the womb, because it's like, what is the force? It's like, how babies are developing on their own. It's just like, the miracle of life is that you're developing in your mother's womb on your own will. It's not like the mom's body is forcing or telling the baby how to form itself. It's like, I always like to call it like the life force, because it's like, there's a force that is keeping this child developing in its mother's womb on its own will, that is outside the mom's will, right? And the baby's will is not creating its own body, right? It's not like we don't create ourselves in our mother's womb. So there's this outside force. I mean, as a Christian, it's God. God literally says he forms us in our mother's womb. I believe that as a Christian, but scientists don't understand that either. Like, what triggers these stem cells, or how the stem cells know what cells they're going to create and how they're going to structure themselves. There's so much unknown about the process of your development in your mother's womb. And it's like, there's this miraculous insane, scientific, structured, intelligent thing happening when a mother is pregnant with their child, and that child is literally a living miracle is happening when a woman is pregnant. You have a literal child, or cells, a fertilized egg developing into a human being through for 9 months. And it's the most miraculous, crazy thing that some people are trying to negate and pretend is not significant and doesn't hold value. And I just can't for the life. Well, I know why they do it. They do it because it's a lot harder to justify killing something you know has value. And we can pretend abortion is not killing the child, but the reality is that is what it's doing. I just don't understand the pretending it's not. It's just ending the pregnancy. The pregnancy, what is a pregnancy? What a it's like all of the manipulative language to disguise the evil, essentially. This manipulative language is all intentional to disguise the what is plainly evil in my eyes. And I think it's just like so many women have been deceived and have been tricked by this industry to making choices that they end up regretting for the rest of their life. And I truly do have empathy for those women who have abortions and regret them, because I can't imagine the pain and trauma of having to live with that choice, knowing you can't undo it. It's like once you have an abortion, you cannot undo that decision, and having to live with that. And that's why I've said in all my videos, um women who have abortions, they need Jesus. They need the forgiveness, the love of Jesus. Every video that I've watched where a woman has shared her regret, it's not pro-choicers that are comforting those women. It's pro-lifers. Pro-choicers don't care about anything but your choice to have an abortion. What you If you regret that abortion after, they don't care. They're not comforting those women. They say, well, look, I gave you the choice to have the abortion. That's all I had to do. I supported your choice. Whether or not you come to regret that and have lifelong trauma, they don't care about that. All they care about is that they quote unquote gave you this choice. It is always people who are pro life that I see comforting those women who regret their abortions. And also, they're the ones comforting the woman when they're mourning a miscarriage. It's just like the people, pro choice people, pretend to be empathetic, but they're actually not, because they think empathy is, supporting abortion. But that's not actually empathy. I also think too, it's such a hard conversation to have with some people, because it's like if you can't it's like I can't convince someone to value children in the womb if they don't want to. If you're convinced it's just a clump of cells, it doesn't matter. I can't force you to see value in that child's life. But what I will say is, when someone becomes a mother, when someone is actually ready to be a mother, they are not looking at their children like they are not valuable things, or just a clump of cells. They're saying, this is my child, this is my baby that they love and they can't wait to meet. There's joy, there's celebration, there's meaning and purpose. And I feel like that can't be equal to the choice of, well, it's just a clump of cells and it doesn't matter and I'm ending. And that's why I said, like, the logical inconsistencies of being pro-choice is what I can't support. I'm not going to support both a child's life in the womb being meaningful and holding value and holding purpose and being celebrated and being um you know cared for, The same way I'm gonna support ending the lives of those children because it's just a clump of cells and meaningless. It's like I can't objectively hold those two standpoints, yet the pro-choice logic tells you both of these are equally great outcomes. And actually, I feel like they don't say that, but they pretend that. Are we celebrating when women have abortions? No. We celebrate when women give birth. We celebrate when babies are born. We celebrate people's birthdays. Every person on the planet has a birthday. The birthday does not signify when your life began, it signifies when the world met the child that was growing in its mom's womb. We don't celebrate birth because it's when someone became alive. You were alive the entire time. Only living things can grow. Only living things change over time. If that child wasn't living, there would be no birth to celebrate after. It's just like it makes zero sense to me how people hold these inconsistencies of it. It's not a life. It's a clump of cells. It is a life. Like literally, quite technically, realistically, it's a life. If that clump of cells wasn't developing or growing or changing every day, it wouldn't stay the same. Something that's alive changes over time. It doesn't it really just, it's just illogical arguments people use because like I said, at the root of it is you devalue those children's lives because it makes it easier for you to justify ending them. That's what it's about. Because realistically, people know deep down that an abortion is killing that baby. Pretending like it's not is another logical inconsistency, but you can pretend all day, but that is the reality. I don't say that to be like manipulative. I'm saying that because that's the actual reality. And that reality is why women face trauma when they see babies. This is the harsh truth. The harsh truth is I don't know one woman that has an abortion that doesn't remember that abortion that they had. Like it's that traumatizing to them. And there's people that will argue, well, it would be more traumatizing to have the child. There's not a lot of women whose stories that I've heard. I've heard people have traumatizing birth stories, but not one person has said they didn't love their baby after having that experience. It's just like the only reason people would celebrate an abortion is if you hate the baby. If you just hate babies so much, you celebrate when they die. Like there's no rational logical reason that someone's like, "Yay, a baby died today." Like no one celebrates abortion. You know why? There's nothing to celebrate about a life ending. We're not gonna celebrate someone's child in their womb not existing anymore. It's just like, and if you are celebrating that, that says a lot about you as a person. But it's just like we don't celebrate. I wouldn't celebrate something like that. And if you celebrate something like that, I would say there's something sick about you. Anyways, in general, I just think um I wouldn't wish abortion on anyone. I wouldn't encourage women to get abortions. I honestly feel like the truth of the matter is there's abortion does not help women. It truly doesn't actually help women. It literally just creates more trauma, more problems, and more heartbreak, in my opinion. And I've seen comments of like even men who regret pressuring their partner to have an abortion. It's just like it's such a sick world we live in that people can, well, truthfully, I really think it's just you either see the value in those children's lives or you don't. And I feel like, imagine you think you it's like, if you devalue children in the womb your whole life and convince yourself a child in the womb holds not as much value and is not a human being, is not alive. Like, I mean, I really don't know. What does that do for you? What does devaluing the life of a child in the womb do for you? How does that better you as a person? To say children in the womb's lives don't matter. That is something I can't figure out for me. The benefit of that belief. I mean, the only benefit is that it makes it easier for people to choose abortion if they are convinced that the child the child in their womb is not significant and doesn't hold any value. But it's just like, that's not even true on a scientific level. Like, on a purely scientific level, like, a child developing in the womb has so much significance. There's so much miraculous things happening. I can't remember what it's called in biology. It's like self-replicating is what's happening. Like, what is the force driving um your self-replication in the womb? And that's pretty much what's happening in the will. But it's also like, there's a system, there's an order, there's a structure to it that is unknown to science still to this day. That's why I said it's literally a miracle. It's like, we did discover stem cells, but scientists don't know how your stem cells know what to create. And it's actually still, it's like, there's so much intelligence in every single cell in your body. It's just like, every person on this planet is a living, breathing miracle. And this is why I always say, I will never apologize for giving value to unborn children. I don't care if every person on the planet says a child in the womb is not valuable. I don't care. I'm not going to apologize for saying someone's life in the womb is significant and is equally valuable to their life, the value people hold outside the womb. It's just like, I don't understand how you can give value to a person after they're born, but not before they're born. It's like the same life. It's the same life. It's the same life. It's just like, after you're born, you're still the same baby that was just in your mother's womb. It's just like, up until birth makes you magically matter to some of these people. Oh, there's not a birth certificate. Oh, because they haven't been born yet, right? You can't document a it's like, just because we there's an identification process attached to people being born, like, we celebrate people's birthday because that's when you are officially outside the womb. You're strong enough to exist outside of your mother's womb, and therefore we can identify you as a separate person because you're outside. But it's like, when you were inside the womb, the doctors measuring your growth and the ultrasound and the pictures knew you were not the same exact person as your mother. I don't know. It's just like, I don't understand the logic of like, oh, you don't matter until you're born. That's not true. And I made the same point in another video where I said, the same doctors performing abortions are also performing surgeries in utero on babies. It makes zero sense to me. Anyways, I think what honestly changed my perspective on a lot of things, I watched a doctor that used to perform abortions talk about how he was aware that he was aborting another human being. He just didn't care. And I feel like that's really what it comes down to. People just don't care. They just don't care. They only care about themselves and their own benefit. Because if you cared about someone other than yourself, if you cared about your own child's life, you wouldn't justify killing it. If you actually cared about the child's life, you would support it being alive. You wouldn't wish death on it. And I feel like nothing in my head tells me that someone I think there's two things. There's a lot of women being lied to and misled and given false information about their own pregnancy because like I said, there's a lot of manipulation happening in the abortion industry where we're using all these clever slogans and manipulative language to convince women their own child's life doesn't hold value and doesn't matter. Telling them it's just a clump of cells, telling them it's just like all of these things are to make you comfortable having an abortion to begin with, because 90 plus years ago that would have been unthinkable. And it's crazy to me too. It's like people have more, I don't think, no one in pro life is celebrating women dying from abortion. We're also not celebrating women dying from giving birth, but we're also not celebrating the unborn children that are dying via abortion either. It's just like people want to ignore the main victims of abortion being the actual children and just talk about, well, they don't matter because they're not born, they're not alive. It's like they are alive. If they weren't alive, there would be nothing to abort. It would be a miscarriage. You can't abort a living child. That's the whole premise. I feel like this is what doesn't make sense. If the baby had already passed away in the womb, that's called a miscarriage. If there was no outside influence on that baby's life, and it passed away of natural causes while still in the womb, that's called a spontaneous abortion, which is, this is another clever manipulation way, because people want to pretend like a miscarriage, just because it's classified as a spontaneous abortion in a medical journal, is the same as an elective abortion, meaning the child was actively alive, you chose to end its life. That is not the same as a miscarriage, and we shouldn't pretend these two are interchangeable. A miscarriage typically happens because there's too much genetic abnormalities for that baby to continue developing in its mother's womb, or just for a lot of other reasons. It's like, who knows why people die of natural causes, but it's a natural cause that was not intentional harm done to that child by a doctor or by its own mother. That's why it's not called an elective abortion. And what pro-lifers are arguing against is not women having miscarriages. A miscarriage is a sad loss of life and is also outside of the mother's control. There's so many women who mourn miscarriages. What a disgusting thing to claim that I would attack a woman for having a miscarriage. What we're against is people electively choosing to abort their children via either the surgical or abortion pill, because you're intentionally, you're electing to end that baby's life. It's like, that's why I said it's like the difference between a miscarriage and an elective abortion is literally the difference between someone dying in their sleep and someone shoving a pillow over someone's face while they're sleeping until they passed away. One was a natural death, one was someone forcing that person to die. It's like, you can't sit here and tell me that they're the exact same things. They're not. They're not. And I think one comes with a lot more trauma. I do think women mourn their miscarriages, but I don't think it's the same trauma that women have from an elective abortion, because there's a personal, it's like you made that choice to end that child's life. I would hate And this is why I feel like I have empathy. I could not imagine having to live with that decision. But that's why I feel like it's important to recognize, it's like being pro life means you recognize the value of the life, so you would never make that decision for your own child because you value it and you care about it. And you're not seeing your own child as a clump of cells. And it doesn't change whether or not you're ready to be a mother or not, whether you want to be pregnant or not. It's just like the child's life in question is still a life separate from your own. I don't know. It's not more or less valuable, it's just valuable. I don't know how else to explain that. Um, anyways, the real thing I think is that with the women who regret their abortions, pro choicers don't want to give them any type of platform because it hurts their arguments, right? That abortion is good for women, to have women say how they regret them and they live with lifelong trauma. That hurts their own argument of abortion being this good thing that benefited those women. Those women aren't benefiting if they have lifelong trauma after. Those women are benefiting if every time they see a baby, they're mourning over the baby that they aborted 15, 13 plus years ago. That's not helping women if they can literally not look at a baby without crying or without thinking about that their aborted child. You think creating lifelong trauma in a woman is beneficial to women? I don't. And then I've heard people argue, well, the trauma of having a baby is infinitely times worse. Said no woman ever. A woman who doesn't want to be a mother has the choice to give their baby up for adoption. You're not forced to be a mother just because you don't want to be pregnant, right? We might can argue, if someone doesn't want to be a mother, they can give their baby up for adoption to someone who wants to be a mother. But the right choice, or acting like the best choice is just for that person to kill that baby, is really just a crazy. And like I said, I feel like the abortion has become this slippery slope, in my opinion, where society is literally trying to use abortion as a solution to a way to, like, it's eugenics. It's also just becoming like, well, I can assume the value of this child's life based off of what I think isn't a good life, and because I think there's a potential for this child to meet the standards of what I don't think deserves to have a life. Therefore, I'm aborting this child and helping it because now they avoided. It's just, I mean, I guess I explained that too. I've literally said, I feel like I've responded to just about every pro-choice argument that exists at this point. I can't say anything else on the topic other than abortion is evil. It truly is evil. I will never support abortion because it is evil. It is evil, it is vile, it is harmful to women and children. Pro life means you care about the life of the mothers and the babies. Pro choice is you saying you could care less about the babies, but only if the woman doesn't want it. Otherwise, it's like, this is why I feel like it's such a disingenuous argument. Because someone who's pro choice, it's like, imagine you have a baby, you found out you're pregnant. It's an unplanned pregnancy. You tell your best friend, and she's like, "Girl, abort that baby. You don't need that baby. It's gonna take away blah 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 in your life." That friend telling you abort your child thinks your child's life is meaningless, right? Doesn't matter because you're telling me to abort my that child, right? And then you decide to keep that child, and that same friend wants to come up to your baby shower, and be like, "Oh, girl, congrats on that child life that I told you didn't matter. You should just abort it." It's like, that doesn't seem like a genuine, like that person genuinely cares about your child's life, right? If you were comfortable enough to tell me to abort that child, but then you want to also tell me you support the life of my child, it's just like, it's disingenuous. Like, does my child's life matter to you or does it not? And if you're saying you only value my child if I wanted it, but if I was willing to abort it, it didn't matter. It's like, these two things, I feel like, again, can't be equally objectively believed. It's like, which one is it? Does my child's life matter or does it not? And that's the straddle pro-choicers stand on, in my opinion, is this subjectiveness of, I value a life only when the mother wants it. Otherwise, yeet. I don't care. If the mother doesn't care about her child, I guess I don't have to either. It's just like, oh, you only value someone because someone else says it's valuable. The subjectiveness of that stance is what I can't support. It's too inconsistent, it's too subjective, and I need objective morals. I believe in objective morals, not subjectiveness. So that's all, y'all. I really just think it's like, I don't know. I share my opinion on this just because I don't care. I don't care to share my opinion, and I do share my opinion very respectfully. Um, and if someone's watching this and they don't agree with me, like, you're still welcome to disagree with me, but I'm not, it doesn't change what I believe, and it's will never change what I believe. Like, you can't convince me a child's life doesn't matter. That's what you would have to convince me. And I made this comment in response to someone else who tried to argue with me. You would have to convince me abortion isn't murder, which you can't convince me. And you would also have to convince me a child's life in the womb doesn't matter, which you also can't convince me. Because every person's life on this planet matters. And if it matters after they were born, then it also mattered before they were born, because it's the exact same life. You have the same life in the womb that you have after you're born. Your life didn't magically change after birth. You were growing in your mother's womb. You were born, and then you just continued growing outside of her womb. It's literally like, you literally have to exist in the womb for 9 months until you're strong enough. That's all it is. That incubation period in your mother's womb is because you're weak and fragile during the first 9 months of your life. You're especially weak and fragile, right? Babies after they're born, still weak and fragile. You're just a lot more weak and fragile and way tinier. It's just like, I'm not getting the logic. It's like, you don't matter because you're a lot smaller. You don't matter because you haven't developed everything yet. You don't matter. Your life's less valuable in the womb because you can't talk, because you can't walk, because you can't breathe. It's like, dang, well, can you give them that time to get those things? All you're doing is cutting off any opportunity or any chance they had to get those things that you're claiming makes someone valuable, but you're killing them, ending their life before they can have those things, and then saying they're not valuable. That logic just does not sit right with me. I'm not sorry, but that logic does not sit right in my brain. Like, oh, I'm just gonna stop this person from ever being able to exist outside the womb. I'm gonna prevent this person from being born, and then claim they don't matter because they haven't been born yet. Like, where's the logic in that? Where's the logic? There is no logic to that, in my opinion, but okay, I'm done.